Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe and like. And please visit us at barrykibrick.com, where you'll see all the ways that you can become a patron of our mission and help us continue to build a community of seekers who quest for knowledge, information, and most importantly, wisdom.
Today on Between the Lines, a woman who has personified beauty and grace, the award-winning actress Linda Evans. Welcome, I'm Barry Kibrick. From her days as Audra Barkley on The Big Valley to her iconic portrayal as the glamorous Krystle Carrington on Dynasty, Linda's life journey has rivaled her characters. Now with her book, Recipes for Life, she not only shares her favorite recipes, but also what she treasures most, the wisdom she gained along the way.
I'm a writer today because I was a reader when I was 11 years old, and it was...
You do not need to prove your state of happiness to anybody.
Most of these speeches were as much as a month in preparation.
Characters, the heroes in this book, are seekers of truth in a story that involves a lot of corruption.
I don't get a chance to really talk about what's real, and it's the purpose for me.
Linda, welcome to Between the Lines. It's a pleasure to have you on our set today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, this is, I was joking with my wife earlier, and I said, this is a first for me. This is a recipe book. There's no doubt. There's hundreds of delicious recipes in here, but it's primarily a memoir. So I thought it's more of a recipe-moir is what I'm going to coin it at this point.
Okay.
It's true, and it really is a book of passion of the things you love. Friends and cooking. And cooking for friends is the, I get a sense, well, I don't even need the sense, you tell us here, it's spiritual for you.
Well, it's completely filling. It gives me the greatest joy that I know. So we can call it spiritual.
It's funny because I wouldn't do normally a book on recipes, but it is a recipes for life. It's what you've learned. It's what you've experienced that a lot of times I think people feel, all right, this is Linda Evans, this is Krystle from Dynasty. There's no way that she's going to relate, but that's what you do here. You relate your life to what every person could really understand, whether it's burning the buns, as they say, or even just the tragedies that one has to go through in life to get through to complete the journey.
Well, we're all the same. And this is what's so interesting. People think that when you're a television star or movie star or rock star, that you're different somehow than them. And we're all just human beings on a journey. Some of us do things that are a little more public and we're watched a little bit more, but we all have the same feelings. We have the same hopes and dreams, the same fears, insecurities.
Well, you started out even, you can see life change even as a young person, because Mom and Dad, you get a sense, were really great. Dad, I remember the story, you said he used to bring home the homeless and you guys would feed them. Mom did one of the most courageous things. You had a neighbor who came down with polio, and at that time everyone's so afraid to even be involved, yet she went and brought them food and made chat with them, developed polio herself. So you start off with seeing this wonder of what goodness is, and then both parents end up having a drinking problem and tension. So you really get to see the ebb and flow of life at an early age.
Yes, and I'm grateful that they showed me how important love is, how important it is to care about each other. It's sad when you realize that with all those great intentions, they couldn't somehow work out their lives, but they gave my sisters and me life, and we're able now to learn from them and go on and perhaps make changes that they didn't know how to make.
Well, you said yourself that unraveling their threads helped reveal things within yourself.
Right, right. we all have skeletons in the closet. We all have things that maybe are sad or that we wish could have been another way. But it's not about that. It's what do we do about it? What do we do about our life? What do we do with it?
Well, especially you say, because your life, as all of our lives, leads you in different directions. You're thinking you're going one way, you've got a master plan, and sure enough, what is that, it goes in another way. And it's how you deal with when that direction changes. How are you adapting to it?
Right, right. I just wanted to be a wife and a mom. Just wanted to get married, have the family that I wanted, and God knows I tried, but life took me in different directions, and I am so thrilled that I was bumped off my own intentions, because I've had a much more, well, I'll never know. Who knows? Maybe I would have had the perfect husband, children, and I would have had the American dream, and it would have been a lot, but I had something else, and I'm certainly not sorry.
Well, I had Harry Hamlin on the show, who wrote a book, The Accidental Actor. And there was an element of it that reminded me of you, because you weren't planning on being an actress. That was just not part of the choice. But how you got there, I think, is important for people to know, because you were just going to an audition with a friend. And the director really wanted you to play the role. Now, normally that really wouldn't even be something I'd bring up. I don't think that that's the important part of it. What I found so important was the way you responded. You would not take it because you were so loyal to your friends. You had a deep belief that, I can't do this to my friend. And throughout life, I noticed that loyalty plays a part. And in weird ways, it sometimes takes you again in that other direction, but it does so in a good way when you are doing the right thing. And loyalty, in this case, the director gave you the part anyway because he promised your friend that she'd get one, and that's how it all begins. But it's the loyalty part that I want to focus on.
The thing that impresses me so much, looking back, is in Hollywood, where people promise all sorts of things and don't keep the promises. He absolutely did give her a part and gave me several of them. And I think, wow, how beautiful that he kept his word.
Well, then maybe it's the way you treat your friends. One of them in particular who plays an interesting role throughout your life is Bunky. And if I'm correct, I just met her daughter in the green room. My wife put the two things together. I remember that Bunky used to be your assistant, and now her daughter is working with you. But now there's a character in life. I don't even know how you survived Bunky on some of the mischief. It almost seemed like, like she was the Lucy, not to your Ethel, but she was way out there. There are things that she did to get a rise in any situation.
Right. See, she was my savior in a way. I've been far too serious most of my life. I'm a very responsible person. I needed somebody in my life. I mean, Bunky is my oldest, dearest friend. I talk to her morning and night, still every day since I've known her, adore her. And she lightens me tremendously, and I needed what we call some of her madness. By the way, Bunky is outrageous in her lust for fun and adventure. However, she also is the kindest, most loving person I've ever known. If there's a person in a room and they've got a sickness or a problem, they'll find her and she will call them every day and she'll make sure they're all right forever and ever. She's calling people we knew 25, 30 years ago. How are you doing? How's it going? She is a wonderful balance of love and fun.
Well, though, you must be some form of a magnet, because it seems that you do attract that to you, that kind of person to you. From the very beginning, even in your acting role, the way you described Barbara Stanwyck and how the relationship that even as a young ingenue actress to her matronly role in that wonderful program, The Big Valley, she and you had this bond also. So you obviously attract good people towards you.
Well, I've had beautiful people in my life. And certainly to work with a legend like Barbara Stanwyck when you're 23 was extraordinary for me. I was scared beyond belief. She walked in the room and I thought, oh my God, she's bigger than life. I'm just going to faint. And she was just a little person. I mean, it was wonderful. She's a very small woman. But boy, do not mistake her height for her power or her presence, because she became suddenly this giant. But what's wonderful is you see Barbara Stanwyck, you know, on the screen, very imposing and big, just the softest heart, the kindest, sweetest, softest, dearest heart. And all of that was, in a sense, to protect so that you wouldn't really know what was inside.
Now, the interesting element of this are some of the men that float through your life. And the first one I had no clue about was John Derek. Everyone knows that last name because I didn't realize this either. I guess he divorced you to marry Bo Derek. And prior to you, he was married to Ursula Andress. And then I forgot who the fourth person was, but there's one more person after Bo Derek.
No, it was before.
Oh, before
Patty
Bo.
Bears-Aristoff,
Oh, okay.
then Ursula, then me, then Bo.
Then Bo. All
Yeah.
right. So, and I'm trying to now figure out this guy for one reason. My wife says, is he some sort of Svengali? Obviously, he's got at least three of all four women are gorgeous. All four women remain friends. All four women attend his funeral. What power? I'm just curious. I mean, I don't know. I was left speechless as I was reading it. How does a man pull that off?
For sure, he was a charismatic, beautiful man, starting with that. But I think it's important to realize that he chose women that I really adored. I mean, the point is, if he had three lousy wives, I wouldn't be friends with them. Why would I? I didn't want to like Ursula because everyone said she was coming back to get him, and I was just temporarily there. So I was prepared to really dislike her until she came to the door, and I opened it and I looked at her and she said, "Is John home?" And a big tear came out of her eye, and I looked at her and I thought, oh my God, I like you. Now what am I going to do about that? I like you. And I invited her in, and thank God she wasn't there to get him. But I adored who she was. I met his first wife, who was the mother of his children. His daughter, Sean Catherine Derek, helped write this book with me. She's my little girl. It's the only daughter I've ever had. And she's my stepdaughter, and I completely and totally adored her. I loved Patty. And then, of course, Bo, I taught to act, and I was helping her to do this film that John was directing. I liked her very much, and they went away in Greece to do it, and they were fighting. They didn't get along at all. I thought when I came home to make a movie that certainly they may not get the movie done because I wasn't there to help them get together. And he fell in love with her, and that was it. But I liked her. What was I supposed to do with that?
Well, you know what you do with it? I'll tell you what you do with it. You wrote these words, and I think this is it. You saw the hidden wonder of life. These are your words. Because even after he left you for Bo Derek, and you couldn't imagine life without him, you wrote, blessings often come in the disguise of loss, and that life never gives you a problem without a gift. I'm certain if you're even half just normally human, you may not have realized that at the moment of pain, but somehow that is what occurred, and that is what drew you back to even something better and newer.
Absolutely. I thought when I heard that I wanted to die. I really thought, wow, if God is kind, just some kind of thing, take me out. Don't make me have to go through this, because I really thought I would spend the rest of my life with him. But what was wonderful is I went through months of thinking, okay, not going to work. You know, he's got to come back. I mean, it's not going to work. She's too young. He's older, a lot older. And he does love me. I know he loves me. So he's going to come back. But he didn't. And as time went on, he called one morning, early in the morning, and woke me up and said, "Are you dating?" And I said, "Dating? I thought to myself, God, I'm trying to die. What is this dating thing? And I realized that he was feeling guilty. And I thought, wow, he's not even really, he's trying to relieve himself of his guilt, and he's not thinking of me. So you know what? Why am I dying for him? He's not living for me. What am I doing? And I sat up in bed and I picked up the phone and called my agent and said, I want to go to work. I want a life. And he said, okay, let's see what we can do. And it was wonderful. I say to women, take your power back. Don't get lost in them. The best revenge is being happy. I just went out, got a life, got jobs, met a new guy. I mean, it's just, life will turn around if you take your mind off of what's in the past and think of your now and your future.
I laugh. My viewers know how difficult of a time I have with that, and so do most people. It's a hard thing to do. It's something you must do, I agree. But it is hard because you feel pain, you feel suffering, you feel emotion, and that mind sometimes goes in that sort of a loop that doesn't allow you to get out of it.
But who can stop us from the loop but us? We are the loop. The point is we can be in the soap opera as long as we want. And you know what? At some point, if you can kick yourself out and say, I'm just going to make a choice. What's in my mind, my emotions are up to me. It's not like something playing I have nothing to do with. I can make a choice. I can say, no, right now I'm not going back there. I'm not doing it. I've done it many times.
Now you brought it up, soap opera. We can't complete this conversation without mentioning Dynasty. That's just not possible. And there are probably, as I read through this, and there's probably 100 different things I could pick out. I'm going to pick out the one that, for whatever reason, touched me the most. And it was a situation I still remember. It was with Rock Hudson. And Rock Hudson was one of the first, literally at this time, to be even diagnosed with AIDS. It was a brand new situation. And there was a scene where you had a kiss. And at that time, no one really knew how this thing was being spread. And he was so concerned, he refused to kiss you the way they wanted the kiss to be, like an open-mouthed type of kiss. And there was such a strength I saw, and I saw that you saw in a man, doing that, not putting anyone else at jeopardy no matter what. And I can't help it. I know all the great cat fights between you and Joan Collins are discussed all the time, but that moment to me seemed to really set, again, humanity at another level.
Well, the thing was, we didn't know when we were shooting it that he was protecting me. We only knew he wasn't kissing me the way we knew he could kiss me. And why they actually hired him was because they wanted to really have it look as though I was going to cheat on Blake for the first time in the show. And knowing Rock and having worked with him, Macmillan and wife, and really liking him, I knew there must have been a reason, but I had no sense of it because none of us knew he had AIDS. None of us knew that that was even potential. So that later, when he resisted, and we went back and shot again, and it cost them a fortune to retake something, and he still didn't give it to them. I just felt that was just the way he wanted to do it. But when I found out that he had AIDS, I had such a strong feeling of how hard he had tried to protect me and himself and his life and the secret that he had that nobody knew and came out, and in the most unkind way. Makes me emotional. Like we can do with people, isn't their most vulnerable moment. The press just sort of went after him without really realizing what he had done. And it was hard. I tried to explain it, but people weren't listening.
That's why I had to bring it out. I just found it. I remember the press. It was all so in that other direction. It makes me just hate the media sometimes, and more often than not, unfortunately, because you could see that was what it was, just a thing of beauty. I'm going to segue though, because here you are. That was towards the end of the Dynasty run, if I'm correct, even. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to use your words. You did spend so much time with recipes and words. And something, though, you felt was still missing. It was amazing. I had fame, fortune, the love of people all around the world, yet I was unfulfilled. So it really shows us that none of that stuff matters. We can feel unfulfilled with everything if we're not filled within ourselves.
Right. And like most women, I looked outside myself to make everyone else happy so we could all be happy. I didn't want anyone in the room left out. And interestingly enough, in taking this journey and going inward and finding the love I looked for outside of me, inside of me, I find that I'm capable of loving everyone in the room so much more than I was before, because I'm coming from a filled place instead of an empty place. So I'm still, it looks like you're being selfish. You're going to go inside of yourself. You're going to selfishly think only of you. But the journey isn't about me, me, me. It's really about when you find you find everyone and everything. It's a paradox. It's an interesting thing. But I am able to love much more now than I ever was before.
I don't know how long ago, it might be mentioned in the book, I just forgot, when you did Legends with Joan Collins. Mm-hmm. And again, these two strong women battling from the days of Dynasty, and they're continuing to battle. And the play, though, is about these two strong women who hate each other and become friends. And this lesson is something that I have been very keenly aware of, and you emphasize it in the book, so I'm going to read it exactly. Even our enemies can help us reach mutually beneficial places. I have lectured both my boys numerous times, and I said to them, guys, I have learned some of my best lessons in life from people I hated. And I have learned I've improved myself from people that I couldn't even stand. Now, I know that was just a play, that I know that you and Joan don't have that relationship, but that, you wrote it, even our enemies can help us reach mutually beneficial places.
The people who have been the greatest teachers to me have been the ones that have been the most in my face. And in learning to walk into that place, to understand that place, I've become greater.
All goes to the chapter of 40, which you have. And
you really know this book.
You do. I loved it because you say 40 isn't fatal, it's fabulous. And you say this, I had earned wisdom. That's just what you're talking about. I had earned wisdom which more than compensated for the downside of aging. I would have some peace if I just saw things as they were and accepted them. That is the answer right then and there. Seeing things as they are and accepting them. And on some part, you want a little bit of the angst because you want to drive yourself to a place where you can find that peace. But as my wife says, you can find it if you could be at peace with yourself easier than if you hate yourself.
Well, self-hate is like the biggest takedown of the world because you're left with your own loathing in yourself. I mean, that's the worst thing you can do is hate yourself. And then second, hate others because it's a no-win. It's a no-win place. I say to you that the things that I'm talking about in this book did not come easily to me, which is why I went through the depression. That's why I went through such a hard time, is I resisted the change of seeing my sisters, both, one with cancer, heart problems, my best friend Bunky with macular degeneration. I couldn't control their lives. I couldn't make them happy. I couldn't switch what was going on. I had to be at peace. When I say at peace, that was reality. I had to see it as reality and then do what I could do in that framework. It's trying to change reality. You will lose every time. I went through trying to do it. It doesn't work. If it worked, I would have worked it out. I really gave it my best shot. I'm not saying it's easy, But I'm saying when you can understand it's a losing battle, you cannot change reality.
The reality is, Linda, our time is up, and I'm going to end with this. Like a great recipe, we are all unique, seasoned by our life over the years. And I thank you for adding some spice to ours, Linda.
You're beautiful, thank you.
And thank you guys for joining us. Now, before Linda leaves, I would like to leave you with these words from Recipes for Life. Never define yourself or your value by whether you burn the buns or swamp the sauce. Cooking and everything else became a lot more fun when I stopped being so hard on myself, just as we spoke. But that was a lesson that took a long time coming, just as you said. I'm Barry Kibrick. Between the burnt buns and the swamp sauces lays the fun. So don't be so hard on yourself. It isn't easy, but it is the recipe for life. Thank you so much, Linda.
You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.